Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the NFL Quick Talk podcast. You already know to subscribe. You already know what to do. Let's get straight into this absolutely crazy draft that just happened. Let's get right into it. At number one, pick number one, Caleb Williams went to the Bears. Yeah, we all knew that one was coming. Much like Andrew Luck, much like Trevor Lawrence in those first rounds, just a consensus number one. Everyone knew that player was going there, and everyone knew Caleb Williams was going to the Bears. I don't really have to speak too much more on this. Everyone knows what type of player he is: dynamic, generational. We get all that. So let's just move on. Here at the number 3 overall, the Patriots went with Drake May. I like this pick because Drake May, I think, is the best passer in this draft. I think he passes the football extremely well, with extremely good accuracy. Now, the one thing is his mobility. I have some questions about that. I know that he can move. I know that he can be a bit elusive, but just running the ball, not too sure about. But you know, be that as it may, not the Commanders, the Patriots took a good one here. Now, pick number 3 here, the Pats took Drake May, the quarterback out of North Carolina. The dude is the best passer in the draft, I think, in my opinion. Just from a pure passer standpoint, he can get outside the pocket. He is pretty shifty, but with an offensive line like the Patriots, they got to be concerned about him taking sacks and the amount of sacks he'll take. But other than that, I really like this pick. He'll elevate the wide receivers in the room. No doubt they'll take one in the coming rounds. And they have a couple there that aren't great, but make up a decent room altogether. And at 4th overall, the Cardinals went with probably the most predicted pick in the whole draft with Marvin Harrison Jr., Maserati Marv, best wide receiver, really, for a long time, in my opinion. And I think that he is just really, really good. Then there's nothing really else to say. He's going to be an All-Pro at some point. He's going to be a Pro Bowler probably this year. Let's face it, Kyler Murray's got a big arm. He'll be able to throw him the ball. So I just love this pick. And with the 5th overall pick, the Chargers stayed put. I thought that they would trade down, but they stayed put and they drafted not a wide receiver, not a tight end, but they drafted an offensive tackle, the best one in the draft, Joe Alt. I like this pick for what Jim Harbaugh wants to do. I think for what they needed, they should have gone wide receiver here in Malik Neighbors or tight end with Brock Bowers. But be that as it may, I think this is a phenomenal pick. And the Giants here take Malik Neighbors, the wide receiver out of LSU. To me, this was a no-brainer pick. There were talks that they would go J.J. McCarthy here, a quarterback here. But, you still have Daniel Jones on their massive contract that they gave him. So why not give him the best shot to fulfill that contract with an absolute stud here in Malik Neighbors? And the Titans here went with J.C. Latham. I liked him. I really did. I really liked him in this whole process. I think he's a pro. I just didn't think that Tennessee was the right fit for him. I think Tennessee was banking on Joe Alt sliding, and he didn't. But they still got a really good player here, in my opinion. And I think he will play very well on the worst offensive line in football last year. So you got to start somewhere. And they did get a good one here. Now Mike Penix goes to the Falcons, the most confusing pick this whole draft, and probably for the entirety of this draft. It really didn't make sense for me. Let's be honest here. So you signed Kirk Cousins to $100 million guaranteed, $120 million, and that could have gone to an All-Pro wide receiver, an All-Pro edge rusher, places that they need a player, and that didn't happen. And they went and that got the best of both worlds with Michael Penix and Kirk Cousins, and they kind of cancels each other out. In my opinion, I don't really like this. And Rome Odunze goes here at number 9 overall to the Bears. I thought that the Bears might go in a different direction because they do have two studs in Keenan Allen and in DJ Moore. But it makes more sense now that I think about it because Keenan Allen getting up there in age, injury history, all that, and he can play with on the inside in the slot. And Rome Odunze can also play in the slot as well. And Rome Odunze is a stud as well. Love this pick for the Bears now. And J.J. McCarthy goes to the Vikings, who traded up one with the Jets. I have mixed feelings on this pick. I like it for the Vikings because, J.J. McCarthy, he's not a hero by himself. He needs playmakers. And he's got Aaron Jones at running back. He has two studs at wide receiver in Jordan Addison and Jay Jettas. Oh, how can I forget? But on the other hand, JJ McCarthy just not the best quarterback in this draft. Let's be honest, he has some work to do. So I have mixed feelings, but in the end, I think I like this pick. The Jets here go and get Olu Fashanu. They need a guy to protect the 40-year-old Aaron Rodgers, which the whole reason why he got hurt in the first place was that he did not have a guy to protect him. And they get a certified one here in Olu Fashanu. He needs to work on his run blocking a little bit, but he, I think, is the best pass protector in this whole draft at right tackle. Excellent pick here by the Jets. And the Broncos go with Bo Nix here. I don't like this because they could have probably traded down 10 spots and still would have gotten him. But I do like this because they don't have a second round pick and they can't afford to wait until the third round to get a guy like Spencer Rattler. And the Broncos don't have a quarterback. So out of desperation, they go and grab Bo Nix. And I like it that they're filling this position need, but in the end, Bo Nix has his limitations and they might be quarterback shopping in the future. You never know. And with the 13th overall pick, the Raiders went with the ultra-talented Brock Bowers at tight end here. Now, this pick didn't make sense for me on multiple levels. Number one, you just drafted Michael Mayer out of Notre Dame, and he played pretty well. He honestly did. And you have two wideouts, certified wideouts in Devontae Adams and Jacoby Myers, who was really good last year. So you can't really... So really, you're playing this ultra talented tight end as a slot receiver. So didn't really make too much sense for me. I get it that he's ultra talented. And going 14th overall to the Saints was Taliase Fuaga, one of my favorite offensive tackles. I've been saying that for a couple now, but really a great tackle here. And he has the flexibility to play all five positions. Teams were testing him at center and at guard, and teams said that he tested very well at those positions. So really a five-position guy that can play all over the offensive line for the Saints team that struggled to keep Derek Carr up. Trevor Penning, their first-round pick a year ago, hasn't really worked out so far. He's been bad. So I love this pickup for the Saints. And the first defensive player, I think it was a record, 14 straight offensive players, but Laitu Latu goes to the Colts. I like this pick because Laitu Latu, all he does is produce in the stat category. He loves to get sacks, and I think this is what the Colts have been missing, is that they've been missing this pure pass rusher. I love this pick for the Colts. And here the Seahawks went with Byron Murphy, the second defensive tackle out of Texas. And this is a Mike McDaniel guy. Mike McDaniel loves to stop the run. Where do you stop the run first? Down at the defensive tackle position on the interior of the defensive line. And they got the best one in the draft. One of the best ones. I think it was 1A, 1B with Jerzon Newton. But I really love Byron Murphy the second because of his speed and agility. And I think he'll fit in really well with this very new Seattle Seahawks team. Dallas Turner goes to the Vikings at number 17, and they traded up to get him, and they needed him because they lost Danielle Hunter. I love this pick because Dallas Turner is the best edge rusher in this draft, in my opinion, both on a talent level and a production level. He marries the two very well. I thought he would go to Atlanta at 8, but he didn't, and the Vikings reaped the benefits, getting, I think, the best edge rusher in this draft. And the Bengals here go with Amarius Mims. The only concern I have with Amarius Mims is that he's only started 7 games in his collegiate career. He's played behind some great tackles in their own right. But I do think that this is a very good pickup for the Bengals in respect to he has all the measurements and all the physical traits to be a very good tackle. He just needs some coaching and some experience, and I think he'll be there. And with the Rams here at number 19 I thought they would go defensive tackle because they lost Aaron Donald. But they went edge rusher with Jared Verse. I think the most explosive edge rusher in this draft. Now, a mini run here. 3 out of the last 4 picks have been edge rushers. And I think that this is a very good pickup for the Rams because they didn't really generate a whole lot of edge rush last year. So I think that this is a very good pickup for them. And the Steelers here take tackle Troy Fautanu from Washington. I really, really like this pick because it will move Broderick Jones, if I'm not mistaken, to the left side of the offensive line at left tackle, where he originally played and starred at Georgia. And he struggled at right tackle at times last year. So I think this is a very good pickup because you can put Troy Fautanu on the right, which is where he will excel, I think, in my opinion. And really, on a realistic standpoint, I thought that Troy Fautanu would be gone by this time. So, very good pickup. And the Dolphins, who needed an edge rusher, no one seemed to acknowledge it, but I did in my previous mock drafts. And they did get an edge rusher here in Chop Robinson, who has the best physical traits as an edge rusher. Not that much production, but that's because he was bottled up getting double teamed a lot at Penn State. But I do like this pick for the Dolphins. Now the Eagles here go with Quinion Mitchell. Quinion Mitchell, I think that he's a stud. I think he should have gone in the top 15, but he didn't, and it fell right into the Eagles' lap. What is Quinion Mitchell? One of the best overall prospects that I think I've seen in this entire draft at his position. One of the best cornerbacks in the league, I think, will be after this coming year, and that's what the Eagles have sorely needed. They've needed a guy that can play corner, so I love this pick. Now at 23 overall, the Jaguars finally get Trevor Lawrence some help, and they get him a first-round wide receiver out of LSU, Brian Thomas Jr. Love this pick for him. They really needed to go in one of three directions: there, tackle, or corner, and you really couldn't miss because there's a hole at all three of them, and they got the biggest hole in wide receiver, and Brian Thomas Jr. is no slouch. Dude is amazing. Great pickup for him. The Lions here at 24, who traded with the Dallas Cowboys to get to this point, picked one of the best corners in this draft, if not, I think would be the best one, if not for Kenan Mitchell, in Terrion Arnold. Terrion Arnold's a pro. I love him. It'll be a great fit in Detroit. Now, 25th overall, the Packers went with Jordan Morgan here. I saw everyone crying on the internet over this one very early on. I did not hate this pick. I think Jordan Morgan is a first rounder, a late first rounder at that, but I think that Tyler Guyton is just a better player, in my opinion. But Jordan Morgan is still a very good player, in my opinion. And really, I don't see the reason to hate this pick, in my opinion, other than the fact that they could have got Tyler Guyton out of Oklahoma, who's a better player, in my opinion. And they needed a player at offensive tackle. So I think this is a good pick. At 26 overall, the Bucks went with a guy that can play left guard, right guard, and center in Graham Barton, a guy that they needed. If he's going to play center, he will replace Ryan Jensen, a player that they really liked there. So I think this is a good pick for the Bucks. Now at pick 27, the Cardinals with their second pick went with on the defensive side of the ball with Darius Robinson, a defensive end, defensive tackle, guy that can play all four positions on the defensive line out of Missouri. I don't think I like this pick as much as I would. I think that Darius Robinson still has stuff to work on. He needs to, work on his hands. Not the fastest guy in the world, but he definitely hits hard. And I think that it's a solid pickup for the Cardinals that could have probably happened in the second round. And for that reason, I don't really like this pick, but I like the player and I like the fit. And the Dolphins, who needed an edge rusher, no one seemed to acknowledge it, but I did in my previous mock drafts. And they did get an edge rusher here in Chop Robinson, who has the best physical traits as an edge rusher. Not that much production, but that's because he was bottled up, getting double teamed a lot at Penn State. But I do like this pick for the Dolphins. The Cowboys trading back, really one of the smartest things they've done in a while. Get tackle Tyler Guyton out of Oklahoma. I think this guy was number one on their board for a long time, and they would get him at 24. So they said, why not trade back and get the same guy? And I think this is very smart on their part, and I really like this pick. Now at 29, the Ravens went and got corner Nate Wiggins. They needed a corner. Marlon Humphrey isn't what he used to be. Now people are clamoring for wide receiver. I get that, but this is a very deep wide receiver class, and they will probably go out and get another one. But I really did like this pick. So because they have some older guys on the team, and they don't have as many experienced guys on the team outside of Marlon Humphrey, and they're rebuilding that secondary a bit there in Baltimore. So I do like this pick. The 49ers here grabbed the ultra-talented Ricky Pearsall. I thought that Ricky Pearsall was a solid second rounder, but a little bit overhyped, and he got into the back end of the first round here. But the dude's a stud. The dude's an absolute stud, a freak of nature at wide receiver coming from Florida. I think he is just a stud, and he will be a stud at in San Francisco with the 49ers. And last but not least, the Panthers, through the Bills, through a trade, they got Xavier Leggett. They've been eyeing Leggett this whole time. They loved him. They had about 4 or 5 meetings with him. And I thought that the Bills might go ahead and take Leggett because he's right there. He's a speed demon. He's great. But Panthers jumped in front of him and got him. So kudos to the Panthers for doing something right here and getting Xavier Leggett. So thank you all so much for watching. If you liked the video, like the video. Comment down below your thoughts on the first round down below. And I will be doing a full team breakdown for this draft, much like this one here, style after this one. So go ahead and subscribe so that you are alerted when that video comes out and when many more come out. See ya later.